Well, now to one of the ACR Seeds of Change conference theme leaders, and Rhiannon Pyburn is the coordinator of the CGIAR Collaborative Platform for Gender Research, which is one of the 3 conference sponsoring organisations. Rhiannon is a specialist in multi-stakeholder processes, institutional innovation and gender equity in inclusive value chain development. And she's worked on projects basically all around the world in Africa, Asia, Latin America, with longer periods in Cote d'Ivoire, Indonesia and India. It's Rhiannon Pyburn, great to be talking to you.
Great to be here. Thank you. Thanks.
This conference is covering, you've covered a lot of ground in your life, and this conference is covering a lot of ground. That's the aim though, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's extremely exciting to be bringing gender researchers and people working on gender and agriculture practice together, learning from each other, sharing experiences, challenging each other. I think it's a very rare opportunity. We often are working in our isolated corners of the world or within our institutes, but surrounded by people who are not working on gender, so often having to fight a little bit to have space. And here we've got so much space. It's just wonderful.
So as I said, CGIAR is one of the 3 conference sponsoring organisations. Tell me about the value of that kind of collaboration.
Yeah, great. So CGIAR is a group of 15 international agricultural research centres and 12 cross-cutting research programs. The CGIAR Collaborative Platform for Gender Research that I coordinate is housed within the Policies, Institutions and Markets Research Program, but we're serving the whole system. So it's enormously useful, first of all, to bring together our CGIAR gender researchers, who again are in their separate centres usually, but to be engaging also with people working with ACIR and with the University of Canberra, and then from all the many different countries and projects and programs and organizations that are also represented within the conference.
You are chairing 3 of the panels at this conference, and you're chair of the plenary panel, which I'll quote, a conversation with men champions of gender equality, challenging harmful masculinities for better development outcomes. That's a great big one. Tell me about your thoughts on that.
So a couple of things. I think we are really happy to see over the years increasing numbers of men coming in and working on gender relations, gender analysis, gender research, gender development practice. Fantastic. And we are also seeing the study of masculinities as a growing area, an emerging area. There's not a lot yet in terms of a body of knowledge, but it's starting to grow. And we've had a number of papers presented at the conference on this issue, but we would have loved to have had more. So actually having this panel, this plenary discussion, allowed us to talk to some of the male champions who were in our midst, and to talk to them about how and why they got involved with gender equity in research or in practice, but also reflect on harmful masculinities. And that piece of gender research and practice. So when we talk about gender, often people think women, but gender relations are about women and men of different ages, of different socioeconomic positions, different castes, and if you're in a country where there's a caste system, different ethnic groups and so on. So all of that needs to play in there, and having this panel really allowed us to highlight a really important issue that needs a bit more attention and would really benefit from some more research also.
Was there anything that really struck you about it, that came out of it?
I liked when we turned to the audience, we did a bit of a buzz, and we're hearing from the audience about experiences and examples of male champions and what allowed them to be male champions or effective ones. And I like that we were challenged by one of the people in the audience saying, why male champions? We don't need to be saved as women. We really need to be thinking about women and men working together and reframing it a bit. So I think that's great. I think it's super to also start to push back against some of these ideas.
What did you think about that? About, is it sort of condescending to have male champions? We don't need to be rescued. What did you think about that pushback?
Love pushback, always. I think it's great. It helps us rethink and reframe. in this situation, I don't see the male champions as being our saviors. I see more as being our allies. And it's men who are recognizing, maybe they're a bit ahead of their time or their context in some cases, where they're actually recognizing the value and the space that they gain from working with women and progressing and supporting gender equality. And I like the related comment that came from somebody around men are also suffering or victims from unequal gender relations in different ways. So I think that I'm happy with all of the discussion.
Well, it's great. That's part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of moving forward, is it to allow the whole discussion, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Yeah.
Is it men who can influence men, especially in recognising harmful masculinities?
So I'm really excited by the work that's being done by men to work on challenging gender stereotypes or and so on, harmful masculinities. I think the work of our colleague, I think Philippe Otieno from the, I'm going to get the name wrong, Advocates. The ADSOC is the acronym.
We'll hang with that.
Yeah, hang with that one. I think the work that he's doing in Kenya, I've also seen men's groups in Rwanda, for example, who are basically bringing men together, talking with men about what it is to be a man and what the differences between women and men, and actually maybe recognizing that they're social differences rather than biologically defined differences beyond some very basic things, and starting to have real conversations about all of these things, about how they're also constrained by the stereotypes that are in place. I think it's really, really important for men and women to be part of the conversation, and men talking to men, women talking to women, women and men talking together. All of that's really important.
Yeah, the beautiful floating coconut video that we saw this morning, and it was particularly striking was the young man in that.
Yeah.
Kind of going, what's a floating coconut thing? And then he went on to describe it.
Yeah. Well, and I think these kinds of exercises, the one that was described in that film, are where men were writing down everything they did and women were writing everything they did and put them on sticky notes on the wall, and there were 14 tasks that men took and 50 some that women were doing. They're powerful, right? You visually see the imbalance in the amount of work or the number of tasks that are undertaken by in that case each member of the family, and those are just really great conversations to see happening.
That's sometimes what it takes, isn't it, to do the basic?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It's a totaling up of work. This conference underlines again and again that gender equality is a great outcome for everyone. That's essentially, that's what we want. Casting ahead, what do you hope comes out of this Seeds of Change conference?
Oh, I would really love to see more opportunities for bringing gender researchers, people working in practice on gender and agricultural development issues, bringing them together, learning from each other. The fact that, so the CGIAR, it's International Agricultural Research Institutes based in different countries, but coming to Australia, so there isn't an institute in Australia. Coming to Australia, having partners from ACIR and University of Canberra here also means we're hearing from another body, another group of people who are having different experiences. For example, in the South Pacific. So CGIAR isn't very active in the South Pacific. We've got a very strong Asian contingent here. Super. We have that also in CGIAR from Asia, but depending on where you have a conference, you get different folks coming in different numbers. So that's quite exciting. And also hearing from some of the Australian thinkers on gender and agriculture, also very, very exciting.
Well, it's great to have you in town. Thanks
so
much.
much. Thank you.
That's Rhiannon Pyburn, Coordinator of the CGIAR Collaborative Platform for Gender Research, one of the 3 conference sponsoring organisations.
Thank you.